Hey guys, welcome back. As you can see, I've had a helper in the shop lately getting things done, and that's always a bonus. But I've also been working on this Lenovo ThinkCenter for a while now, using Windows XP and trying out quite a few different GPUs, and I think I finally settled on one that seems to work pretty well for what it is I want to do. Building a Windows XP gaming PC isn't really all that straightforward. If you think about it, Windows XP was released in 2001 with 3 service packs released in its time until 2006 when it was replaced by Windows Vista. In that 5 years, there were some pretty big changes in hardware and games. At the release of Windows XP, the current CPUs, I believe, were socket 478 Pentium 4s and socket A Athlons, and I think the current GPUs were something like the NVIDIA GeForce 3s and the Radeon 7000s, and at the time, most people were on even older hardware than that. PC gaming was already very popular, and in 2001, some of the latest releases were Max Payne, Baldur's Gate 2, GTA 3, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and others that were pretty cutting edge at the time. But by 2006, when Windows Vista was released, the current CPUs were now Intel Socket 775 Core 2 Duos and AMD Socket AM2 Athlon 64 X2s, and the current top GPUs were the GeForce 7900 GTs and ATI's X1900 XTs, with more modern games being released such as Just Cause, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, F.E.A.R, Tomb Raider Legend, Need for Speed Carbon, and many others that required the more modern hardware. With hardware and games advancing so quickly, each year is like its own era, so you really have to build for that particular era. If you're building for nostalgia with a single-core Athlon and Radeon 7000, you're limiting yourself to a certain time period within the Windows XP years. So there is a choice to build for a certain time frame within the XP years for nostalgia's sake, or to build a PC that can functionally cover the whole era of Windows XP. When I build a PC for Windows XP and retro games, I try to cover the whole era and even beyond, since most people kept Windows XP until Windows 7 was released in 2009, and that's an entirely whole new era. And that's what I tried to do with this PC. I tried to build it to cover games from all the years of Windows XP and even some DX9 games that are more modern. Much of the hardware and games released after 2006 also still supported Windows XP, so for many, it was still the Windows XP era. Personally, I prefer Windows Vista myself, which expands on the XP era games to include later DX10 games as well, but the goal here was to build a capable Windows XP PC with this ThinkCenter. So let's see if I accomplish that. As we already know, this PC has a socket AM2 Athlon 64 X2 5000 Plus Brisbane Core CPU with 2GB of DDR2 for now, running Windows XP Service Pack 3 on a 640GB SATA hard drive. I tested out a lot of GPUs to find one that was not only capable to do what I needed it to do, but was also compatible with the CPU without it becoming a bottleneck most of the time. I ended up settling for the NVIDIA GeForce 9600 GSO, which is a mid-range GPU from 2008, but it gives the performance I was looking for on this particular PC. I tested a wide range of games. Most of them were from GOG, but some I actually installed from original discs as well, and we're going to take a look at how well it performed in each. I did feel that 1080p might be pushing a little too hard, so I went with a resolution that was a little bit lower, but still appealing, 1360 by 768. So let's take a look and see how well this PC actually performed. So there we have it, and I think it does what I wanted it to do pretty well. It's still basically Windows XP era hardware. The GPU is in that gray area, I suppose, but it seems to work well with early XP games as well as games at the end of the XP days and beyond, way beyond in the case of Alan Wake. And there are plenty of newer indie games that would probably hold its own on as well. I suppose I could have gone all out and used a Core 2 Quad PC with a GTX 700 series, but that would obviously be way overkill for most of the games released during the Windows XP days. So I'm pretty happy with the build now. I've really got to experience how bad of a GPU the 2600 XT really was in this process, and the 9600 GSO was certainly not a desirable GPU by any means when it came out in 2008. But for an older system playing older games, it does a decent job, so that's a perfect use for such a card. So anyways, let me know what you guys think of this Lenovo as a Windows XP gaming PC. You guys take care, and I will see you on the next one.